So the idea that we're going to try and do tonight is going to provide a bit of an overview to the athletics talent pathway. We're going to provide an overview of what athlete and coach profiling is and how we do that. We're going to try and describe the journey through the youth talent program. We're going to outline the application process and selection policies, and then hopefully we'll get all of that wrapped up within 40 minutes at the most, to try and give you guys as much time as possible to ask us questions, find out what you need to try and get from this webinar tonight, because we want to try and give it as you guys as best experience as we possibly can. So yeah, when it gets to 40 minutes, we'll try and show up and try and hand it over to you to get some questions in. So if you do have questions as we're going along, fire them into the chat box. I'll try and keep monitoring that as we go through. And yeah, if I'll pick it up during, we can. If not, I'll pick it up at the end with the rest of the team. So introduce ourselves. So Dan, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I'm manager for British Athletics.
I'm Nick Ridgeon, so I'm co-project lead for the youth talent program alongside Dan, and I'm also the England Athletics event group lead for the throws. Oh, and Andy?
Hello, yeah, hi, sorry, my unmute button was sticking then. Hi, I'm Andy Paul. I'm the youth talent program lead for the Birmingham Talent Hub, which launched last autumn. And I've been working on the ACE program. It was previously known since the second year it was in existence in this country, so about 6-7 years now.
Cool. So we're just going to take you through and just give you an overview of the England Talent Pathway and just highlight exactly where the youth talent program sits. So to start with, the fundamental aim of the talent pathway, England Talent Pathway, British Athletics Talent Pathway, and the home country pathway as a whole, is to ensure that there's opportunities, experiences, and support to ensure that an athlete and coach can have a clear pathway to elite performance and hopefully leading to success on the international stage. Although in this current climate, it is quite exciting to know that we now have a combined athletics nation strategy, which is a combined strategy between British Athletics and the home country federation, which is really one of the key pillars is around talent development and ensuring that there is a clear, safe and transparent talent development system. So it's really exciting that we can present to you guys tonight just how critical the youth talent program is as part of that. So the youth talent program is the first step on the England talent pathway. It previously, as Andy has alluded to earlier, was called the ACE program and was governed and managed by British Athletics. But over the last couple of years, we've started to evolve that talent pathway activity and try to look at it relative to age and stage. And I think given where England's position is and the collaboration and work that's done within the clubs, we felt it was really important to ensure that that program is probably readjusted to be more closer to that club environment and also to that age and stage within the England pathway. Also, the governance of the program has now come under Sport England, so it's now moved under an English banner. So that's one of the reasons why it's now changed from the ACE program governed and managed by British Athletics to now a collaboration with England Athletics and British Athletics, which is really exciting and a positive step forward. So as you can see there, it's a really key part of the first step within that England talent pathway. Key thing as to highlight from that diagram is the clubs are really critical along that journey throughout that pathway. So that the clubs obviously, goes without saying, provide that regular daily environment for those athletes and coaches who are developing through those key development years. But the talent pathway is there to help support, provide opportunity and experience, and I think critically try and identify where to add value to the athlete and coach along that journey. So we're conscious that the program will have 220 athletes on it per year, and a variety of coaches and skill levels along that journey as well. So as a program, we'll look to ensure that we provide the right allocated support as and when there is need to. And it's really important to highlight that program, the youth talent program there, is focused around a dual career. So an athlete progressing out the end of the 2 years over 17 and 18 will come out the end of it with a qualification, which hopefully will then provide the platform for them not only to develop their key skills in their athletics career, but then also, oh, Nick, you're flying through the presentation. Can we go back up? Cool, thank you. So it's a really important part of the overall talent pathway. And ultimately, as you can see, throughout that talent pathway, there's multiple entry points. So even if an athlete doesn't necessarily hit that stage in selection for the youth talent program this year, or whatever year that they are eligible for it, doesn't mean that they can't then progress into the pathway later on. We're conscious that a number of athletes, development journey isn't linear. So some athletes will progress further than others. Some athletes will come in later in the sport. The key point within that talent pathway is there are multiple entry routes for athletes to come in at whatever age and stage that they may feel or highlighted the necessary potential along that Commonwealth Games pathway through to England, or then on the British pathway along to the Olympic Games and World Championships. And it's really key to highlight as well, alongside these development programs, which is there to add value and support those athletes and coaches within that club environment, there's also an appropriate competition structure. So that's where both British Athletics and England and the other home countries provide some competitive opportunities to not only provide that experience, but then also test those athletes and coaches and see how they experience those type of international competitions. So it was a really exciting time to be involved with the pathway, and hopefully it'll be an exciting opportunity for those who are coming through this year. Okay, do you want to move on to the next slide? Cheers, Nick. So in terms of talent pathways as a whole, we're trying to move the philosophy from just what it previously was consistently focused on performance, so just time, distance, and height, but actually looking and focusing on the key areas that underpin that performance. So looking at key areas of potential, whether that be technical, physical, lifestyle, psychological, because we're conscious that, especially through those development years, it's really critical to get some of the fundamental basics developed over that, that 14, 15, all the way through to 23 for some events. So within those talent pathway environments, our key focus is to upskill, support, guide, challenge athletes and coaches around developing those key areas of potential and not just focusing consistently on performance. And that will be reflected not only through the education and experience that an athlete and coach may have, but also down to our selection as well. So the selection, as they move through the system, won't just be on performance. It will be around those specific qualities, whether they have a technical or physical quality, which is a key determinant for that event, or they've highlighted some specific behaviours. And what this enables us to do is give us some rich information around how we best support those individuals, so we can gain a lot more context, so we can try and provide the appropriate support around those individuals. So we've tried to move that philosophy from being purely performance and adding on the additional areas of potential that underpin that performance, with the ultimate view of long-term development success in becoming a senior athlete. And I think it's also an opportunity for athletes who are involved in this program and coaches within this program is to highlight those key abilities, showcase their skills, so we can hopefully best support them and provide the appropriate opportunities relative to the age and stage. Okay, Nick.
Okay, yeah, so just diving a little bit deeper into that athlete profiling. So we've put together this athlete profiling framework. So it's hopefully to give us a bit of guidance and clarity on the journey of the athlete, from their first stages into the pathway right through to hopefully successful senior or reaching their potential at least. So this tries to give us that little bit of a wider view of how we develop and support that athlete and coach partnership. So key bit with it in here is that we're going to try and understand where they are and where they're going to go, identify key abilities required and key checkpoints along the way to help understand that progress and track that progress, and we're hopefully going to use this to try and plan the journeys from their current location to their final destination. And then the final bit was trying to assess the effectiveness of the program and track progress. So all of these things will have either quantifiable or qualitative or quantitative assessment tools attached to them, and hopefully it means that we can have accountable and empowered athletes and coach partnerships that can really track their progress throughout the whole system and try and work out, well, where is your low-hanging fruit, where can you develop, and where do you need to put your time, effort and energy into your program and your training, whatever it might be. So yeah, trying to look further and looking a little bit deeper than just how are they performing right now. We want to look at, well, how can we get them to perform at their potential longer term.
Yeah, and I think the really important thing to reiterate on top of that is they're trying to create that common language between athlete, coach, and program to ensure that there's those effective relationships which are supportive, and we're almost speaking a similar language. So from the day that an athlete comes onto that youth talent program, hopefully all the way through to whatever program they end up going on, we have good clarity and understanding, and there's a good effective relationships working with athlete and personal coach. And some of these specific areas can just help start that conversation around key areas within an individual specific plan.
There's been a few questions in already around how we're going to assess these parameters. We will pick it up later on when Andy starts to talk about the individual athlete plan, but a lot of them have got key quantifiable measures attached to them based on science and all the research that goes behind that. So yeah.
Insight as well.
Yeah. Okay, next slide.
Now. Okay, so yeah, so the way in which we assess once the athletes are on program and how we support them throughout the program, both the athlete and the coach, is to complete an individual athlete plan at the very start. And each centre, whether you are linked into one of the two existing hubs, Leeds and Birmingham, or into one of the other centres around Bath or Manchester or Loughborough or London, you'll complete one of these processes, and it's the way in which we measure against your the factors there that are on the diagram. So with the plan itself looks for you with the coach to identify your goals and your outcomes from the program. Where do you want to be as an athlete moving forward? What we then need to look at are, again, as Dan's already identified, and then come back with the words from Nick, was the technical, the tactical, the physical, the lifestyle, the nutrition, and the psychological factors that will influence your success. So we all know that standing on a track or standing in the field and competing in the event in which you are specialist isn't the sole factor that will determine whether you stand on the podium at the end of the competition. We need to know whether all of the environmental factors around you are in place to help you to best effect. So we move from success factors into the conditions for progress. So we look there more deeply at the environmental structure around you, the club you're at, the facilities they have access to. Are you near to an indoor facility if that helps you? What access do you have to medical support or to sports therapy? And these types of things are the conditions that will help you make progress. So we want to identify and understand what they are for each athlete. These IAPs aren't done by one person to one athlete at the centre. Each centre has a number of mentors or lead coaches. So in Birmingham, for example, I will be looking after the speed athletes, sprinters and hurdlers, and we've got a jumps lead coach and an endurance lead coach, and each of the centres is set up like that. So you'll be working with somebody alongside your personal coach to determine the what the factors look like for you. And then as the program goes on, I think as Nick really covered just in the previous slide, we need to understand whether helping increase the areas identified, either success factors or those conditions, we can then identify whether you've made progress, because we complete 3 of these a year. So pre-season, mid-season, end of season, we complete the IAP, we review what's happened to that point, and we look forward again. So in the good old coach education process, we plan, we do it, and we review it. That's really the process we're under. Nick, can we go to the next slide? Is that okay? So I'm not sure how clear this will be to you. It'll probably be clear when you get the notes post-event, but this is 2 areas of the an exemplar of one of the IEPs we've done this year, where you can see the sort of yellow color, that's amber, and then obviously there's green. We use a RAG system, red, amber, green, to identify whether the athlete and the coach feel, not so much the lead mentor or the person that's working with you, but whether the athlete and coach feel that that area, one of those success factors or one of those conditions you need to make progress, is in the right place. Some of these areas have started at red, but the aim of our work with you through the YTP is to try and move them forward at least to amber and hopefully move into that green area. Actually, on YTP, it would be fully anticipated that a number of those areas might well start in amber, and it might be to do with the facility you have access to. It might be to do with the distance you have to travel to the track, and it might be to do with the infrastructure of support you have around you, because that's different for every athlete. So in the example here, the green on the bottom right-hand grid, the first one there is training environment. This athlete has a great setup at her track. She's got access to weights and track right next to each other. She's not very far from the high pack if that's required, but the event she does is 400, and absolutely sorted in terms of that setup. One of the things she has an issue with, or we did identify at the start of the program, was lifestyle. This is one of our older hub athletes, and she's about to go into her final year at university. So the management of her lifestyle and managing her work in university alongside trying to achieve international status as an athlete is something we've had to look at and support throughout the program. So that's what an amber might look like. So each of those elements are key to the training program. It's how we assess, it's how we review, and it's how we move forward with you. The most important thing is we don't just do this and tick you as passed or failed. It's an ongoing process of review to help you move forward and assess progress. That do you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was like a bit of an overview in terms of where we're at from a profile, from a pathway and a profiling perspective. So let's go a little bit more in depth with what actually is offered as part of the Youth Talent Programme. So the Youth Talent Programme is the YTP, as it's going to commonly be known, is the first step in the talent pathway designed to meet the needs of identified English athletes. So the first part is that we want to try and support. So the idea is that we'll support athletes and their personal coaches to develop a broad range of skills, abilities and behaviour needed for international senior success. It will do this through delivery. If we're going to try and do practical training sessions as well as educational sessions as part of that. Next part is we're going to try and empower those athletes and personal coaches to understand the holistic development principles to help transition into a senior successful athlete, and also cater for outside of athletics. So the whole idea around the Youth Talent Programme and the pathway at large is to try and develop that dual career, dual functionality. So you're not just an athlete, you're not just a coach. And then transition. So trying to work out and trying to help support that athlete and coach in their next part of their journey once they've completed the Youth Talent Programme. So as Dan's already mentioned, Youth Talent Programme lasts for 2 years, and then it's where do you go next? So hopefully you will continue on the journey through to Junior Talent Programme, possibly go on to Olympic, Commonwealth, club success all the way through the way. But also same thing for the coach. So the coach might start their journey, relatively new coach, newly qualified potentially, support and work with an athlete that is recruited onto the program, and will help them to sort of guide them through their journey into becoming the best coach that they can potentially be as well. And the final bit there is to try and help them achieve, so reach their potential, and hopefully trying to retain both athlete and coach in the sport by getting them to have a really good experience, enjoyable time as part of the Youth Talent Programme. The other bit to try and highlight in this bit, so the athletes that complete it, if they're in full-time education, they'll be able to get, through the academic side of things, they'll be able to get a diploma in sport and exercise, which I think it's, Andy, correct if I'm wrong, it's 64 UCAS points that can get available as part of this, yeah. And for those that aren't in full-time education, they'll be able to still access all of the Youth Talent Programme content, attend all of the workshops, seminars and all the training days. So hopefully they'll get skills, behaviours that they can use in their athletics career, but also in their work career outside of that.
Okay, so just to extend on the conversation around the journey, this is, if you like, in these 5 boxes, a summary of what you will receive as a YTP athlete. So we talked about the individual athlete planning and profile. That was the 2 slides I took you through a second or two ago. Each of the days that we come into contact with you will have a series of workshops on them. Some of them will be athlete specific and athlete only, but quite a number of them are also available both to coach and athletes simultaneously, or to athletes, coaches and parents in individual groups. So each of the days covers a huge number of areas, and we'll look at that on the following slide. But each of the days is tailored to deliver both an academic series of content, and in some cases, as Nick started to say there will be practical training as well. So you and your personal coach will be paired off with one of the coaches within the centre that you assigned to, and coaching will take place. But the workshops were delivered by a series of specialists on the day at the venue you end up working at. Those performance support sessions are where we'd be working very strongly with the England Athletics coaching setup and the coaches that are employed and work for England Athletics. But importantly, as I said earlier, they are there with not just the athlete, but with the personal coach as well. And they link into a series of mentoring opportunities. As you've identified already, you're going to have somebody working with you on your IAP, your individual athlete plan, and they'll be supporting you throughout program, being in contact not only on the days when we meet at the centres, but in between times, potentially coming out and seeing you with your coach at training sessions as well. I think it was alluded to in a couple of the slides you've already seen, but a big part of the YTP journey is to identify that a lot of people in the modern world are training and working, or they're training and studying with the intent fully to compete and work in the future. And that's what we want to support. The idea of dual career qualifications is crucial to us. It shouldn't be that all eggs in one basket type of thing. We want to make sure that what you get from YTP isn't simply how to be a fantastic world-beating long jumper, but also how to come off the end of the program and know what might you do next, and give you all of those opportunities, all of the understandings of what it looks like to go to university, to go into full-time work, and what those career opportunities might be. Cheers, Nick. We got the next one up. So then, in terms of the content on each of the YTP days, it is an academic qualification. Completion of the Diploma in Sporting Excellence will get 64 UCAS points. And over the course of the 20 days, which we cover over 2 years, those are contact points that where we meet you. Some of them are full days, some of them are slightly less, depends on the content we're covering. Then these are the areas we'll look at. So obviously technical, physical and tactical, we'll be looking at both in terms of assessment and coaching opportunities. But then a whole series of workshops backed up by academic workbook study at our centres will cover all of those other areas: cultures, values and behaviours, what it takes to be a great athlete and a great person within the sport. Nutritional advice, one of the most well-received aspects of the program, I think, over the last 7 or 8 years. What to eat and when to eat it, and what to drink and when to drink it, and also when not to. Mental skills, the psychology of being a great athlete, really, really important, and something that's been identified as a real weakness in some people. Lifestyle, the management of sixth form study, going to university, having a part-time job, being an athlete, getting to training, all of those sorts of things. We try and challenge those thought processes and help manage time. Career and finance, obviously, it takes money to do this. Right now, if the athletes on this workshop are sitting there going, Mom, can you lend me some money to get to the training? Well, in some point, that's going to become your responsibility, pure and simple. And we've got to try and look towards managing those processes. Communication and media, you know, the use of social media, how to stand up in front of a camera and have a conversation like this and not wave your hands around too much. All of those sorts of things are really, really crucial. So we do some practical, we do interviews and film you doing interviews to see how good you do it. And then slightly less exciting, but as important, the idea of health and safety and risk assessment, to be a safe athlete in training and understand what to do just in case. So those are the areas we cover from the academic side of the program.
Andy, could I just jump in there? I've seen one of the questions, and I think it's a common question we always have. We've reviewed year on year, we review exactly how it is delivered, and we are conscious that, and even through the this period of lockdown, where webinars have become very very successful and a great way to communicate some key information. So we are looking at, going forward for the new program this year, how many days can we deliver online so they can be done in an athlete's and coach's own time, and then how many days does it take for an athlete and coach to actually come in and engage with that program, which we'll explain later on. But we'll try, where possible, try and get as much quality content as we can delivered online, and then make those days that athletes come in with their coaches really impactful.
Yeah, just very quickly, actually, the nutrition and the mental skills are where each athlete on YTP receives support from a specialist, either a psychologist or a sports nutritionist. And those in our last day, we literally delivered last month in Birmingham, as we did at the other centres. We delivered 27 one-to-one sessions online in MS Teams or Zoom across a day, and everyone, thank God, actually went well in the end, and everyone was seen. So it actually went really, really well, and in some ways was a lot better than having to pull people from different areas just to do that one particular piece. So yeah, we go virtual as well as real time.
Okay, so just a little bit more information about what that training might look like. So at the moment, we're planning on having, so Andy already mentioned that we have 20 days over the 2 years. So 3 of those days in the first year will be national event specific training days, and the 3 in the second year will be. So these days are, so we've learned quite a lot over the last 2 years as we're trying to evolve this program. So the idea is now that they're going to be full days where you'll be able to access the talent event leads or the talent mentors as part of this program, and they'll take you through both educational aspects of trying to develop as an athlete, as a coach, but also try and get some practical elements in there as well. So this is sort of an indicative typical sort of first national event specific training day that I'd put together for the throws. So it looks like we'd start relatively early, sort of 9 o'clock briefing, and we'd go into doing some throws, ideology, philosophy, aims and objectives to try and get the understanding of why we're doing what we're doing and why it's all important, and how we're going to take the next steps. And then looking at the event specific, so in this bit, throws specific elements of the physical excellence framework. So we've got a wider physical excellence framework that's underpinned on physical competencies, but there are some specific elements to each event group or each specific event. So we'll spend some time looking at that and how we can develop those as part of potentially warm-ups or specific physical preparation sessions. And then we're going to look at some of the technical excellence framework. So these are a live, continually evolving documents where we just sort of have a bit of a review with coach and athlete of what that athlete is currently doing from a technical standpoint, so that hopefully that means we can modify training based upon that. So the information that we gather on these national event specific training days will be fed into the IAP at the regional centre, and we'll be able to adjust goals based upon them. But the idea is that we'll have at least 2 training sessions, so that to know at this age and stage, there's a lot of athletes that do multiple events. So I know from experience this year, we've had quite a few, for example, shot putters who also do discus. So we're hopefully trying to make the program flexible enough that you'll be able to get some exposure in both of those events, or definitely more than one event. And that also means you can get some mentor support for yourself in both of those events as well. So yeah, there's all of these things. We're going to come out with more information, but just a bit of an indicative date of these things. So trying to fully access the talent event leads for that day, spend a lot of time training with other athletes that are on the program that you might not normally get to train with, try and build that cohesion of the program and build that like Englishness as hopefully these people head on and try to compete in representative teams, whether it be England or GB in later years. Yeah, so we've learned a lot through doing these days over the last couple of years. So yeah, hopefully that these can be open up to both the athletes, their personal coaches, but then potentially the parents as well to come along and sort of help out, because obviously they are a key influencer at this age and stage in the pathway.
Cool. Do you want to second on first bit?
Yeah.
So in terms of staff at your centre, I'd be, if you like, the point of contact in Birmingham. And as we talked about, managing the group and the logistics for any given day, but also IAP management specifically with the speed athletes in Birmingham, and we've got a couple of others doing, as I say, jumps and combined events, and the endurance athletes. It says develop relationships, and I think what we're talking about there is the need to make sure that if there's a problem, can we help? And for example, through COVID over the last 3 months, quite often I've been asked, do you know if there's a track open, where can we access to train, and so on. So trying to keep the athletes and the coaches up to date with the latest moves, because we get fed that information either from British Athletics or from England Athletics. So it's a point of contact, point of information, advice, guidance, this type of thing as to what's needed. And also within the group, we've coordinated already in Birmingham. We've got, I think, 4 400-meter hurdlers who train at different venues with their own coaches. We've managed to pull those together and facilitate training sessions offline away from the program, which has worked for the athletes and the coach. So where they're training in isolation, as Nick just mentioned, they've been able to come together. So we've developed that process of sort of co-coaching and training in there. Also, leaders say that the education delivery and the lead for the DICE program itself. So making sure that with an assessor, we mark all the work, feedback, and you pass the course. Okay.
Okay, so the other sort of key program staff members that you'll come in contact with is the talent event leads. So these people are fundamentally there to provide technical, tactical, and physical advice to both the athlete and the parents and the personal coach. And hopefully their job will be there to try and bring in and connect the other personal coaches that are part of that program, so that they can learn and from each other. So it's that talent event leads to try and facilitate that learning environment within those coaches, because we know from research that that's one of the best ways that coaches learn. It's not by being told by us or necessarily from formal coach education. It's by interacting with each other and connecting with each other and try and bring each other on and sort of, well, I do this and what do you do? What would you do in this situation? And it's sharing and learning together. And the other bit, I suppose, is because of things like the technical excellence frameworks and those physical excellence frameworks, is to provide some monitoring and trying to feed back to the point of contact in their regional centre, to sort of have help them reflect and review where they're currently at. And the talent event leads will also, because there's people that have asked about it already, so these will help select athletes and personal coaches onto this program as well. But whilst on their program, yeah, it's that technical, tactical, physical mentor, and they'll help try and connect and support the coaches as they go through.
And then finally, performance support staff. So this will be probably different per 7 centres, but this is essentially nutrition, psychology, S&C, and lifestyle. And their primary remit is to provide that education delivery that Andy had gone through earlier and try and hit a number of the key areas that will be delivered across the course of the 2 years. But then also, as Andy mentioned before, there's also the opportunity for one-on-one support. So through nutrition, through psych, there's the opportunity to have, individual sessions with you as an athlete or and the coach involved as well, to highlight where you may want to focus your efforts over the course of this program. So really cool that you've got some additional support around you and your around athlete, coach, and potentially parents. So
okay, so there's been questions already in terms of the commitment required as part of the program. So we thought we'd sort of try and break it down to commitment for the athlete, coach, and parent. So if Andy, if you want to go through the athlete commitment first.
Yeah, so I think as we've talked about individually on the offer that you have coming onto program, there is 6 event training days and up to 8 workshop days or online sessions. And those, as I say, I think we're going to mix them up way more actually after the experience of the last 3 months, because we think there are quite effective ways of doing that and much more time clever ways of delivering some of the stuff we've got to do with you. As was just mentioned, you're going to get a nutrition and a psychologist assigned to you, and you'll get 3 one-to-one sessions across program. So they are tailored to what you, working with them, identify as your needs as an athlete. So obviously very different between, say, a thrower and an endurance athlete as to the needs both pre, during and post competition, for example. There is some new talent kit to be confirmed, but the event training days, I think Nick's already explained pretty well in terms of what you see on. You saw the model a second ago for the throws day, and there'll also be some testing processes done within each centre. The commitment from you as athletes is to attend every session. We need you to complete the DICE requirement. So it is what used to be an apprenticeship program. So there is an academic qual there, and you need to complete the workshops as indicated each time. We really just want you to get involved. And the best feedback we have from athletes that have completed ACE in the past and now the YTP is when you've actually had a go at it and you're throwing yourself into it, you get way more out of it. If you sit back and sort of, miss out, you're not going to get much out of it. You've got to give it a go, and you'll learn a huge amount. As it says there, go home, use the ideas you've picked up, talk to your coach, talk to your parents, about what you've learned and how you might have to adapt what you do at home to take your progress that next step. And for God's sake, ask questions. It's the worst thing you can do is get back in the car at the end of the day and go, crap, I wish I'd answered that. It's there. Ask us any questions, and in between times, stay in touch. Communication is key. And once you get onto day one, sit back and go, oh yeah, that's what I'm getting out of it. And actually set yourself some targets of what you want to have achieved by the end of it. So that commitment is there, but it's about committing so that you benefit.
Okay, so from a coach perspective, so it's really, really keen. Like, one of the big things that we've learned over the last couple of years to try and both the parent and the coach are really, really influential at this age and stage. So we try to make it a little bit more attractive for coaches to be involved with. So as part of that, we're trying to offer some qualifications that you'll get from it. So they'll get given access to the movement skills level 1 and level 2, both of which are going to be online, so they can get done in the time that the coach has available to them. So they're really, really flexible to do around that. Really good sort of online resources to help develop the physical competencies of and help coaches develop the physical competencies of the athletes that they're working with. And obviously that's going to have a bigger trickle down effect of it, not just supporting that athlete and personal coach that's on the program at the moment. It'll affect the other athletes that have got in their group as well. Secondly, so we're going to offer the event group specific qualification. So this is again, it's an online qualification, so it has a wide range. There's all sorts of resources on there. I just completed mine, so it's got from coaching philosophy right through to programming. There's some physical preparation part of it, and then also there's some technical aspects to it. There's a wide range of the profiling, with a lot of resources and assessments along the way, but really, really flexible, can be done in your own time. You can fit around obviously full-time work and everything else that you've got going on. Once you've completed that event group specific qualification, there's an event group integration day. Again, I'd recently completed mine, so normally they are face-to-face affair, and you have a tutor will guide you through that day and your reflections on, well, what would you consider? You get given examples of a couple of athletes that you would work with, and you go through right from schooling, their training, their whole profile, and it gets you to identify strengths, weaknesses, and then try and work through some priorities as well. So really good educational tool around sort of getting you to think about your coaching processes. Again, due to COVID, England Athletics have been really, really adaptable with how they deliver this program. So now this is getting done online. So I did mine recently. There was myself, 3 or 4 coaches, and the tutor online doing it face to face like that with some homework in between. Really, really good, really interactive. And again, like, it's that building that connection with some of the other coaches in this sort of space. Linking into that, so we've started to develop these online coaching communities of practice as well for coaches. So they're going to be facilitated by the talent event leads, and we're working on specific terms of reference around them and what we can get from it and how people can engage effectively and all that type of stuff. So they are something that's growing continually. We've had, I think in Javelin, I think we're on our 3rd or 4th community of practice now. It's been really, really positive so far. There's been great interaction between the coaches that have been involved. So just again, trying to build that connection, build that team around it, and it's facilitated and supported by the talent event leads, but it's run by those personal coaches. What we'd expect in terms of commitment from the coaches is to be involved with that individual athlete planning process. So you are there to try and help and support that athlete and sort of question what you're doing and try and learn as much as you possibly can to maximise the potential that that athlete has, and also try and, like, when I've done these IAPs with coaches and athletes before, there's always bits that comes out that the coach can work on. So if it's something that it's flagged that the athlete needs to develop, well, is it that coach, they haven't developed in that area because that coach hasn't got too much knowledge or experience in that, and can they then go and develop themselves in that field? So whether it be like attend some sports psych stuff or look at their programming or whatever it might be, that they're really, really involved with that process and they're learning alongside the athlete. Yeah, we'd like you to attend the event training days. We've tried to be a bit more strategic as to when we plan those now, so they're avoiding competition clashes and other development opportunity clashes as well, as best we can. So yeah, if you can attend those, that would be great. We're going to have the dates, the indicative dates, released soon. And then yeah, it's to collaborate with us, collaborate with other people that are involved with the program, and then collaborate with all of the staff that are going to help and support you as well. We want to do this together. It's not England Athletics going to tell you how to be a better coach. It's not. We want to work with you and grow with you. So yeah, just trying to work in collaboration as best we can.
Cool. Just before we move on to the parent section, just to highlight some of the questions that were coming in the box. Those days are across the course of 2 years. So it won't be 6 training days within a year. It'll be 3 training days year 1, 3 training days year 2. Similar with 8 workshops, there'll be potentially 4 in year 1 and 4 in year 2. So that is across the course of the 2 years. So hopefully it's enough to spread out for athletes and coaches to deal with obviously other commitments they may have in their life, and obviously athletics competition and so on. And the final section there is around parent. So we will be delivering, and we're very conscious that the parents are absolutely critical to this age and stage. So there will be an online parent pathway parent program, which will be focusing on sessions which are delivered to the athletes, but probably just delivered to a different in a different way to help parents understand the key journey that the athletes are going through, but then for them to help support and collaborate with the program and the coach on those key things. So we'd hopefully ask the parents to commit to either tuning into those webinars, or if those workshops are delivered on a specific day, that they then attend those days, and then fundamentally support the journey, and then collaborate with the program and the key staff and obviously the personal coach to help guide their child through this journey and process. Just another question we saw there around the qualification point of view for the coaches, that would be covered by the program. So as long as a coach would commit to those key areas, the fee of the qualifications would be covered by the youth talent program.
The only potential barrier that I can think of in terms of the qualification is you have to have achieved a certain qualification level within the formal coach ed system before you're able to attend the event group specific qualifications and the event group integration days. So it might be something that's raised as part of that IAP or ICP when we do it with the coaches, that they might need to complete their athletics coach qualification, for example, if they've only got their coaching assistant. So yeah, we'll need to look at those issues on an individual basis, but hopefully the idea is that we can try and get people to access as much as we can. Certainly the movement skills level 1 and 2, all coaches, qualified coaches can get involved with that, and same with the coaching community of practice. But yeah, potentially need to look at those event group specific qualifications. I know there's been a couple of coaches already that have tried to be involved with them, and you need to hit it. There's a requirement as part of that, but we can work with you, try and get through that and kind of point you in the right direction and to an order to enable you to access that. Okay.
Just, I'm conscious that we're moving quickly on time. We're going to go run through the selection process right now, but there will be online full detailed selection policy. So any questions around the selection that may not be highlighted in the next 2 slides, there will be a full policy and information on how to get selected going on the website in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so just quickly then, so you can apply from next Monday, so 6th of July, and the entries or the application closes on the 7th of September. So as part of that application, we're going to On the selection policy, it'll outline all of the different criteria that we're looking for, but essentially we're looking to try and have the athlete, the parent and the coach all have input to that online application so that we can gather more information of the wider profile. We were hoping to then do a selection event. Unfortunately, with COVID, we've had to cancel that selection event. So the idea as part of that, we were going to give a practical opportunity to show off those different aspects of the profile. We'll then review and recruit. So by the end of September, so myself, Dan, the talent event leads will review all of the applications and then recruit, like Dan said, the 220 athletes and coach pairs. And then we'll look to induct in mid-October. So there's some questions in already in terms of eligibility. So like for the dates of birth, so it's the 1st September 2003 to the 31st of August 2004. So you need to be eligible to compete for England and Great Britain. And for the DICE qualification, as I've already mentioned, in education for 2 years at the start of the programme.
Yeah. Just to highlight with that application, the first bulk of there will be a number of invites that will go out to highly ranked athletes within that age category, but we are this year opening up wider than that group because we're conscious that there's probably a number of people that are highly ranked or due to COVID maybe missed out on that ranking. So we will send a mass invite out to a large group of athletes that do appear on the rankings, but we are opening an open recruitment as well. So some people will receive an email, some people won't. If you don't, you still want to be considered for the program. There will be an online link where you can then fill out the relevant link as well. So don't be disheartened if there's not an email getting into your inbox.
Okay, so then just quickly, so the panel will consist of the British Athletics Pathway leads, so Dan, and the England Athletics Event Group leads, so myself as throws, we've got Spencer Duval for endurance, Darren Ritchie as jumps and combined events, and we've got Shani Palmer for speed. And we'll all work with our talent event leads to help look at those application processes and with application forms, and we'll review it against the selection policy that will all be sent out and it'll be available on the Athletics website. So just a couple of things within the selection. So from an event profiling perspective, we're looking at power of 10, but we're going back 3 years. So it'll be till 2018, obviously taking into consideration most people haven't been able to compete a lot this year. We're going to be looking at championship performances and also your performance progression over that time frame. From a technical and a physical capacity standpoint, so we're looking at on the application, you have to input your training history, injury history, and as part of your athletics goals as well. And we look for commitment. So this is maybe some of the comments that the coaches can put in there around the athlete's intensity and effort in training. And then some key behaviours, so how diligent they are in preparation and how they react in different situations. Yeah, so I'll cover that very quickly, but I'm just conscious that we need to try and get some of these questions in. So just move through to the last bit. So Dan?
Yeah, and I think ultimately the end goal is one, success on the international stage. So winning medals at senior championships is the long-term goal for this program, but also it is about providing a dual career for athletes and coaches to progress through and hopefully support a career and life outside of athletics as well, and then also fundamentally supporting coaching and that coaching journey there. So just there's a picture of a couple of athletes that have turned then into coaches. So that's what the program is about. So a number of different outputs and objectives of this program, and hopefully be a productive opportunity for whoever gets selected onto it for this year. Okay,
so thank you all for listening and for all your engagement. I'm just going to try and pick up some of these questions as we go through, some of which I know we may well have already covered, but we'll try and answer them in case we need to pick them up again. So how do you plan on assessing these 4 outlying qualities? So Dan, do you want to talk about that from a profiling perspective? I think this was mentioned earlier, Ron, with your not just looking at performance, those other factors, lifestyle and everything.
Yeah, so those 4 areas will be assessed through the training days and through the engagement on the program. So there'll be a number of activities, technical training opportunities, physical markers that will be delivered through some of the camp sessions, and then also some of the engagement with performance support. So some qualitative information there. So each engagement and within those days will help assess those. So it's qualified staff who will provide that assessment. But the key thing is to really reiterate that point is not necessarily it being an assessment in terms of like a school assessment. It's more about identifying potential areas that you may want to focus on, but then also highlighting and celebrating your strengths. So they will be delivered through the operational plan, through coaching staff, through monitoring processes such as like a technical excellence review with the coaches, and specific jump testing for physical, for example. So delivery on the days.
Okay, so question in from Andy. Are the measures available and is there a framework by age and stage? So I'll take this one. So this is something that myself and my other event group leads are trying to put together in partnership and collaboration with British Athletics in the home nation. So we have pushed far ahead in terms of the technical excellence frameworks. We're building those physical ones. So it is a continually evolving all the frameworks are continue evolving. There's a lot of them that are already set in stone right now in terms of like from a mental skills perspective. They're already there, but yeah, we're looking to sort of expand them further. Once they're all there, and like I said, they're never going to be there completely because it's going to be continually evolving. The idea is there we can get it out there so it's really clear to all coaches that are working across all events and age and stages what they can do to try and develop their athletes and guide their principles of what they do in terms of their coaching. I think a lot of the work that we're going to do, if it'll be reflected, so the stuff that people access through the youth talent program, they'll be able to access through the regional training days as well and national training days. So they'll be very similar in terms of the focus of what we're doing, because the why is the same. So hope that answers that question. We've question from Sarah. We mentioned that the birthday boundaries earlier on, so if I just quickly slide to that on here, yeah, so birthdays there at the bottom, so 1st of September through to the 23rd, the 31st of
Nick,
yeah.
Can I just add on to that answer? I think there's a few people confused by this age, and if they don't get on, can they do it next year? Absolutely. We're running a program right now. We started last October, and we are overlapping those programs. So the next one starts this autumn, and we'll be selecting a further group the following autumn. And by that stage, the current group will have finished their course in the summer of 2021. So it's an annual process, this. And if you look at the talent pathway slide that was posted earlier, and you'll be able to see those post the webinar, then you can see that year on year, there'll be an opportunity for those youngsters going into college or sixth form education to make their application.
I'm trying to pick out some sort of, because there are a few repeating questions, so I'm going to try and capture the ones that are most often asked. So what about where will the sessions happen? So Andy, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I think we've mentioned there are 7 centres: Leeds, Manchester, Bath, Loughborough, London, Birmingham. Have I missed any?
No, that's it. In London, we probably look to do 2 sites.
Yeah.
And 2 sites being due to size and obviously location within London. So those will be confirmed. The London ones will be confirmed over the next couple of months.
Yeah, and so they happen Loughborough College, Loughborough University facilities, Birmingham University facilities, and other ancillary facilities, which will include the High Performance Centre in Birmingham. Manchester, they've got a great education site plus use of the Performance Centre in Manchester. Similarly in Leeds, at Leeds Carnegie, it's not Leeds Carnegie, it's Leeds Met, isn't it now? Sorry. Bath University, the indoor centre there. So all have really good access to athletics facilities as well as an educational platform.
Cool. So a few people asking about entry standards or qualifying standards. So yeah, just to reiterate, there's not a qualifying standard per se. Yes, we will look and we will take into consideration the event profile and that progression of that athlete that's applying. However, there's no standard per se as to what gets in.
Yeah, there's quite a few questions around that, Nick. I think people are saying about power of 10. Power of 10 is one of the most obvious ways of looking at where somebody is from a performance perspective. I think, as Nick has mentioned, we won't focus just on that because quite clearly, quite a number of people have not had an opportunity to compete this year, but we'll look back over the previous 3 years, as Nick indicated. And if we contact people, if you do get an invite, as Dan mentioned, that will come via the England database based on the information we have about those particular athletes.
Yeah, and I think it's really important then, because we were unable really to put that selection event on, so to be in front of the athletes and get to be there with them, it's really important that that application process is thorough. So really try and just get as much information as you can with that in that application process.
So just again, because there's a few people asking about where the application will be. So it'll be online, it'll be on the England Athletics website, and there'll just be a link that you need to follow, and you all complete it through there. So yeah, we will post it out and it'll go live next Monday. But yeah, it'll all be online, so try and complete that as best you can. We will post it and we'll try and get it out as best we can as well. But it'll all be online via the England Athletics website. You can click through there. Someone was asking about the cost of the program. Is the program free or is there a cost?
No, at this stage, the program is free. So it's part of the British Athletics and England Athletics pathway offer. So the program is free to both athlete and coach.
What is the time commitment for the program?
I think that you highlighted that on the last slide, didn't you?
Yeah,
I did, yeah. How would I recommend and signpost an athlete to this program? So there's a few people asking about, like, yeah, they've got someone that might be interested. All I would say is it'll go on the it'll go live from Monday next week, and if you want to pass that information on to them, email the send them the link to the website. Go for it. Yeah.
Nick, I also say, obviously, I think it's been indicated that this webinar will be online in about 7 days' time. So if you want to refer athletes to go and look at the slides and read through the information or get in touch, then they can do it that way as well.
Yeah. And if you've got any specific questions, then you can drop myself an email as well. Happy to sort of ask with that. Sorry, I'm just reading through some of the questions to try and pull some of them up. So bear with this. So if you've been involved with the ACE program already, and you've completed it, so you need to be within that age band. So the likelihood is that you can be involved with either regional training activities that will be organised by the regional coaching leads, or you can be involved with the national training days, or potential that you can get involved, as Dan mentioned earlier, about the various different entry points to the talent pathway, that you might be able to be involved with the junior or the senior talent program. So if you're not sure about those, just contact your event group lead, who I mentioned earlier on.
Yeah.
There
was a question. Yes, I'll answer that one then. Yes, we would like the coach to attend. It is obviously, we understand that the days we pick for the training days and the academic sessions may well clash with coaching. I coach athletes, as does Nick, and sometimes one has to go ahead of the other. We appreciate that. We'll try and make it as flexible as possible, but we would love the coaches to attend with the athletes where needed.
Yeah, and I think the key thing is we will try and just cater and review how those days work. So it is an ongoing process of making sure we can get the coaches to engage, because they're critical to the success of this. Well, the athlete going through the program, but then also ultimately the athlete. So. Yeah, so the cohort number per year is 220, and it's it's across all the 7 centres. So what we essentially do, we ask for athletes to put their preferred location and then second location, and generally we try and work on an appropriate number, so we don't try and overload one centre. So if an athlete applies for one centre, but that centre is pretty much up to its max, and their second centre has a number of open opportunities in there, we'll look to then coordinate with that centre for the athlete to go there. And we may look at, based on the event and their location, decide to just try and provide a different centre for them. So we do ask for a first and a secondary centre, but that will be based on capacity, but 220 overall per year. a certain number of, yeah. So it's an even split in terms of gender, but the event may differ, depend on the kind of number of athletes, talented athletes, or who applied within that specific event. But we try and do an even gender split.
Nick, whilst you're finding the next one,
yeah,
there was a question that mentions about there's only options for Birmingham Leeds talent hubs. Just to be clear, you might, I think you saw it as well, Dan. Just to be clear, there are 2 talent hubs which cover more of the athlete pathway than just the YTP. At the moment, all of the centres we've spoken about deliver YTP. So this webinar is purely about the YTP. The 2 talent hubs currently exist in Birmingham Leeds, and YTP is part of them. That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, the application for the Talent Hub is for the 18+, so the athletes that would have gone through this program already. So it's for those athletes. The Talent Hub application is open at the moment, like Andy said, is for the next stage within that system.
Yeah,
not this one.
Sorry, bear with us. There's so many questions coming in. This is the most I've been on a webinar.
No, this is
a little bit a question around inclusivity.
Yeah.
So,
do you want me to go through this?
Yeah, Dan.
So, and I'm happy to provide information to my colleague Sarah Benson, who heads up the Paralympic pathway. But yeah, we do keep this program open for Paralympic athletes that meet the age requirement. So what we would do is consult with Sarah, who's the pathway manager for para British Athletics, just to ensure that those athletes meet the relevant criteria. But they also have their development academy and futures program as well. So they have a similar pathway as us, as the Olympic side, but we do provide opportunity for Paralympic athletes on this program as well. They have a similar program called the Development Academy, but it's not doesn't include the DICE qualification, and it's not age limited like this one is. So yeah, there is opportunities for Paralympic athletes.
We may have kind of answered this, haven't we? I think we are going to reflect on the previous year's Para 10 performances and understand what we can about those athletes. But this is an application process. We're going to have to consider each athlete in that way. You may be aware that there may well be some competition opportunities before the closing date for the application process, but we will be looking back and reviewing what athletes have done previously.
No, I think the program itself is trying to almost do the opposite of that. So because we are focusing on all those areas underneath potential, we're not necessarily saying you have to be a specific event. It's like working on those physical, technical capabilities, the behaviors, the lifestyle elements. So it is definitely relevant to age and stage, and focused with a long-term view of senior athletics. So yeah, hopefully that didn't come across tonight, but the rationale behind this program is not that early specialization. It's developing fundamental skills, and you may be within an event group, but like Nick said, is the opportunity within that event group is to try different specific events.
So there's been a few questions coming from combined eventers and multi-eventers. And just, yeah, so they will be, Darren Ritchie and his team will look for like to recruit combined eventers as part of this process. But like obviously their delivery will be slightly different because their curriculum will cover more than just one or two events as part of it. So it'll be a wide ranging one. So the curriculum will be different, delivered differently, but it'll still be inclusive for combined eventers. So you'll still have to develop those wider profiling things, those technical excellences, but it'll be relative to what they need as part of their development. So it'll be inclusive. So I don't know whether Andy's got an example of when he's worked with combined eventers from an IAP perspective, but certainly the training days will be inclusive for combined eventers.
So well, on the national camps we've run previously, we have had combined eventers who at one camp have focused on jumps and one camp focused on throws. So we develop that according to their need and working with them and their personal coach. So yeah, absolutely, we'll look at it as their and it might depend on the centre they're based at as well. We work with them and their coach to identify within the planning process what's the priority for them.
Do you want me to get this one, Nick?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so as I highlighted at the start of the presentation, this used to be across British athletics, but because the governance has actually moved now under Sport England, this programme is specifically just for English athletes. But I know Wales and Scotland do run similar development programmes, regional and like national academies, which follow a similar process of education, curriculum, support around athlete coach. So they also run two very good programmes. So there won't be an application process for Welsh and Scottish athletes for this programme, but I would advise checking on the Welsh Athletics and Scottish Athletics website for the relevant programmes.
There's a few people asking about how we're going to be getting in contact with them. So if they are highly ranked, and the question here about like the correct contact details. So I believe athletes and the parents can update the contact details as part of their My Athletics bit. Is that correct, Andy? From a club perspective?
So on your England Athletics portal, every athlete that has a registration number to compete has an England Athletics page they can update to make sure their contact details are correct. And if they don't know their England Athletics number, they can contact EA or they can ask their club secretary, who should know it.
And then when will the invitations be sent out? So we'll do the closing date for the applications will be the first Monday of September. We'll then review them in September. So the invitations will go out start of October, I'd imagine, early October. So there's a few people asking about just the delivery and the different centres. So it will be a centrally driven curriculum, which will be delivered regionally. So there will be, with throws, so this question is specifically for throws, we will have all of the event specific days will be delivered in either Loughborough or London. For speed, because we've got the hub and it's got coaches at those at Birmingham hub, it'll be delivered in London, Loughborough and Birmingham. For endurance, that'll be delivered in Leeds because it's set up as a hub, Birmingham because it's set as a hub, Loughborough and London as well. So it will depend. And then jumps, so I believe London, it'll be delivered in London, but it'll also be delivered in Loughborough. And then high jump, long jump and triple jump will be delivered in Birmingham hub as well. But it'll all be a centrally driven curriculum covering those event-specific physical capacities and qualities, as well as the technical and tactical event-specific elements as well.
Cool. So with that one, I've just seen Saskia's comment. There is opportunity, like Andy said, if they don't meet the age criteria this year, that obviously the year that she meets that age, then I'd encourage her to apply for it then.
Absolutely.
What if the coach is unable to commit? Would this stop the athlete being selected for the programme?
No.
No. So ideally, we would like to support and work with the coach and athlete as a partnership. But if the coach isn't able to attend because they've got various other different things on or whatever it might be, we will still try and involve them with the IAP process. They'll get the feedback from the event-specific training days, so we will be able to try and engage them as best we can. And with the mentoring being quite flexible and the online communities of practice being quite flexible, they should be able to receive some support. So someone else mentioned issues with either challenges around transport and other commitments in terms of athletes and things. We'll try and be as flexible as we can with this program to try and support those coaches. So
yeah. I think certainly within the hub, from a Birmingham perspective, I know Leeds do similar. They try and actually go out and meet with the athlete and coach on site where possible. It's not every coach every session, but occasionally, if that's one way of getting the coach athlete engaged both together, then that has happened in the past.
Yeah. There's quite a few people asking for our emails, so I might just flag up that front page again so people can see our emails if they do want to get in contact with us.
I can remember if I was there. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I think Spencer's just put a note in the chat as well.
So we do want to reach out to get on there. Otherwise, just keep looking out for the England Athletics website, and it'll be in the top banner with how to apply and where you need to go.
Yeah. There's a couple of questions, Nick, about the fact that some of the athletes in the session here might be too old, and I'd refer them back to the pathway diagram that Dan explained. If you're achieving those performance levels now, look at that, as if you read my mind, then you need to look slightly further up the path and look at what England Athletics are doing around junior talent program, senior talent program, and so on, and keep an eye on what the qualifying criteria are for those programs. The YTP, as we say, because it's an academic qualification that's targeting the 16 to 18 age bracket, that's why it is that age group first, and only that age group, if you like, year on year.
Cool. Still loads of questions coming in, even though we're well past the time. Sorry?
You thought everybody else had got somewhere to go at 8:30, and they obviously haven't, the same as us.
You're just loving it. Well, it's great to have people so enthusiastic about the pathway.
I'm not going to drop this person in it, but he says I can't log into the EA website to check my details. Is that because I've not paid this year's fees? Probably.
I mean, make sure you get them.
Zach,
so we mentioned earlier about dual career, so questioning around trying to do the YTP as well as 4 A levels. So, Andy, what's your experience with people trying to balance their academic?
We have a range of students on the course from an academic background point of view. We have got some doing apprenticeship, we've got some doing BTEC, some doing A levels, and yes, there is an academic workload to the YTP program. We work with you. There is an academic tutor as well as the lead course manager like myself in Birmingham, and we'll work with you as best we can to manage your time and expectations of getting the work done. We say every year that if you work to a good level on any one of the given days when we're studying at the centres, then you pretty much get most of the work done on the day you're at the centre. There is some away time work, there is some follow-on work, but in the majority, it can be done within the day. But we will work with you. 4 A levels is a, you know, that it's a high workload. But if you want to do the YTP, we'll support you the best way we can.
Questions still flying in.
I know.
Great. My little brain won't keep up with it though. So I'm just trying to kind of see if there's like some trends within the questions, really. Okay, so one about the question for about coaching. So if the coach has already got these qualifications, so yeah, that is a challenge. There's going to be quite a few coaches that do have those qualifications already, which is fantastic. So the idea is that they'll probably receive more support from their point of contact or the talent event leads that's more specific to what they want to do. So progress them further on. So all the talent event leads, so the coaches that are in place, have got a breadth and depth of knowledge and experience that's fantastic. So I'm sure they'll be able to learn, whether it be more informal type education that they'll get from the YTP as opposed to formal coach education as part of those. But yeah, it is a challenge, but I would say as part of that, yeah, just make sure you maximize the support that's available either from the talent event leads or those point of contact, but also the performance support staff that are available as well. There will be lots of things that people can learn, maybe more informally, but still a huge amount of learning that can be taken as part of this program.
One of the things we're trying. Sorry, Dan.
Sorry. Do you want to go? Andy, you go.
One of the things we're trying to do going forward in developing the program within a given region around a centre is look at how we work with the wider coach education and coach development processes that are happening, and put on offer things that are, as you identified there, Nick, to help the needs of any specific coach, whether they've got the qualification or whether they're working towards it. So I think this is an evolving process. We've evolved the YTP from last year to this, and I think we'll continue to look at how we deliver it and how we can improve it.
Yeah, and I think I think I alluded to it earlier in my bit around the talent pathway. It is a massive point of change in athletics at the moment, and I think with the publication of the Athletic Nation, I really encourage people going to read that. I think the strategic direction across British athletics and the home countries is really trying to look at that coaching offer. So what we do by helping recruit, develop and support coaches, coaches, volunteers and officials. So there will be, hopefully over the coming months and going into next year, a really comprehensive offer of coach development, not just alongside a program like this, but within the British Athletics and Home Country Federations programs themselves. So I would say watch this space if you've already got these qualifications that the program's offering, because hopefully there will be a wider coaching strategy and coach development strategy that will be developed with all the key NGBs. So watch this space.
Questioning about coaches that have got multiple athletes involved with the program, and I think there's a few people that have asked about this, but this one's sort of quite poignant. I think it's something that we probably need to consider as an organisation, that if we want athletes, coaches with more than one athlete on, where do we place those athletes in terms of the regional centres? So this is probably something we're going to have to look at when we do recruit them on, and also people who've got athletes who are currently on. And they're going to have more athletes going on to try and make it as simple as possible for those personal coaches to engage with it. It's something that we're going to have to review. So it might be that we look to try and have them in the same centres or whatever. I don't know whether that's been done before, Andy, whether that's something you've been involved with, trying to...
Yeah, it's an interesting one, both for coaches that may have athletes on, more than one athlete on the programme this year, but we've had a number of coaches that have had athletes on programmes yearly. And so when those programs have overlapped, we kind of have to manage where it impacts on the coach and which days they can make it to. So it's going to be something we're going to learn as we go along here a little bit, and try and identify. As I say, I think as you just said a second ago, we need to look at that when the athletes are selected, and because part of the application they should indicate their coach to us, and we can look at where those potential impacts might come. We'd hope that the athletes would go to the same centre, but of course coaches coach a little bit further afield nowadays, so we may well have one or two that are in that situation.
I'm not just saying it because I'm from the Northeast, but there has actually been a few questions around just the travel aspect of people from the Northeast having to go to Loughborough or London. So just to sort of provide some clarity with it, if you're from the Northeast and you're on the YTP, your regional centre will be Leeds. So all of your academic aspects and those generic ones when it talks about physical prep and all those days that Andy mentioned before, it's only for the event-specific days where you'd be, so that the Northeast cohort would be in Loughborough. And the idea behind that is to try and it's a relatively small event group, and we want to try and raise the standard as best we can, and we want to try and bring those people together and get them the best exposure to each other as athletes and other throws coaches, but also the talent event leads, and trying to pool that. I think the other thing to consider is just the facility access. And by going to Loughborough, we'll be able to have access to indoor throwing and indoor throwing centres, so we'll be able to get a lot out of the day. So I want to try and give a really, really good experience to those that do attend. I know it's a long way to go potentially from the Northeast. It's one of those ones where it's a national program. We want to try and deliver it in as best possible way, and as a result, sometimes we have to travel in order to get that, unfortunately.
Firm, it's 6 days across 2 years, isn't it? Not 6 or 7 in 1 year, in terms of that national.
So it's three national days a year where they would have to then travel down to Loughborough.
And then for the Northwest, so Cumbria, I love Cumbria, they would go down to Leeds as well, so it'll be a similar sort of process. But all those dates will be really well in advance, so people can really organise around it and plan their time around effectively. So yeah, it's just part of that. Can you enter the YTP now? You can enter the YTP on Monday. If you are eligible to do it. So next Monday, the first week of July, and the entries will close the first week of September.
Yeah. Are we there?
Nearly there.
Am I there? I'm here.
No, I meant questions.
Questions.
Oh, questions. I think unless there's, I think we've covered most of the areas that most of the themes that have been coming out.
Yeah.
There's a question in from some young chap called Sean Pickering around why Spencer Duval has a Geordie accent.
Very nice.
I thought you were going to ignore that one.
It's not a Geordie accent. It is a Sandancer accent because I'm from South Shields. So you're nearly right. I think that may well be it in terms of the themes. Yeah, like this webinar's been recorded. I'll try and dive through all of the questions later on. I'll try and theme them up tomorrow, and we'll try and answer as best we can. So we'll try and put together a bit of an FAQ, as well as having access to the presentation slides and the recording of this. So yeah, just a big thank you for all engaging tonight. Really enjoyed it. Really good questions and really good chat. Really good feedback as well as we're going. You will get sent an email asking for feedback about the webinar. Spend some time, yes, candid feedback is always, we'll take that. So
Nick's accent is very well received.
yeah, and yeah, just candid feedback on that, please. And then just please stay in contact with us, and we look to see some fantastic applications come in and try and support these athletes and coaches and parents to reach their potential. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. So thank you very much for everybody.
Thank you.
All the best. Take care and stay safe.
Oh, we're done.